going on, people?
Mike's also he is running our podcast for us. He is going to be producing this for now, and he's a great addition to the team.
Yeah, he is absolutely. We also added Gary Browning, new director for commercial lending. It's a great new space that we're able to help a lot of clients. We've had a lot of success already with that area. So Nick, I mean, do you want to expand a little more on that? No. Okay. Um,
I have to keep going. You're on the screen. I'm not going to talk. It's going to make it too many.
well, I don't know him long enough.
Keep going. It's
Okay.
live. Fucking keep talking.
We also added several new loan officers. We have some interviews with one of them that's going to come out here soon. They're starting to kill it. Trey Estes, brand new loan officer, 7 applications in his first 30 days, and that is what NBI does for you. That's what the team does. I know following Nick and Mike's advice really is helping out build out this business. It's been a great experience to ride on.
With so touch on a couple things. We added Gary, director of commercial lending. We closed a bunch of commercial deals now to go along with our residential. Residential is still the biggest portion of our business by far. Um, Adding Mike, VP of Business Development and Sales at this point, has brought in somebody who has a little bit more of that finesse in a good way to drive the message home that we've been preaching since day one. We want the Navy SEALs as sales teams. We want the Navy SEALs as companies. We brought another new person aboard. We can't quite make that announcement yet, but he referred to us as the Army Rangers, not just the infantrymen. We take the Army Rangers, drop 5 guys off in the middle of the wilderness, and tell them, hey, here's what the mission is, and they're going to accomplish that mission, right? So he referred to that when talking to us, and it's one of the things I take the greatest pride in. The past 2 years, all I've heard is, oh, the market's been bad, the market's been this, the market's been that. It's so hard, it's so hard, it's so hard. But it seems to me that MBI, we must have the magic formula because month over month over month over month over month over month, guess what happens?
What?
We keep producing and we keep producing and we bring people in and we plug them into our system and we're refining our system more and more and more. We're 2 years into putting the foundation in place. We're 2 years into refining our systems. We're 2 years into, hey, this is how you become a top producer in the industry. We can take a guy like Trey Estes, who that actually went live yesterday in this studio, and I think that you guys did a great job. You did that. You actually were more relaxed on this than you are here today. You were much better yesterday without me here. Trey did an awesome job of talking on here, talking a little bit about what he's doing. 7 applications in his first 30 days, and he just got his mortgage license. That's a testament not only to Trey's hard work, but it's a testament to the systems that we have in place and how we can bring somebody in who didn't have a license, teach them what to do, teach them how to quote unquote sell, which it's not selling. We're creating opportunities to solve problems. We're looking for problems and we're looking to ways of resolving them. And we've taught Trey that, and Trey's been able to do that. And he capitalized on his connections that he already knew in the area and so on and so forth, and people who were his friends who were in housing, who were in real estate, who were in development. And he's done a great job of that. You guys had Will Dancy on yesterday. Will Dancy's another, he's the proof is in the pudding. And I did a video shouting out both Will Dancy and Joe Ben Fry. Joe Ben Fry, man, he did a great job, came out hot. Will Dancy came out, did I think he funded 3 loans in his first 45 days at the company, and he was never in mortgage before. 0 mortgage experience. Didn't need it, right? Because he followed a proven system that we have developed over the past 2 years. We have a team of operations people who are the best of the best at what they do. Man, it's a testament to them, because as you're building a business and as you're bringing on employees, one of the biggest hurdles is finding the people that fit. Most small businesses that are growing and become big businesses, there's a lot of turnover in the beginning because you have to have the people who are going to come in there, put their teeth to the grindstone, and run through the brick wall. And I truly believe we are finally at that point, especially from an operations standpoint, because it now allows our sales guys to do what the sales guys do, our loan officers, our mortgage advisors to do what our mortgage advisors do, and that's go out and solve problems. Because now when they get the application in and it goes over to our operations team, they have no worries. And it's the first time in the history of this company that most of us feel, okay, great,
there's nothing for us to worry about. Client never felt it. We averaged 14.7 days clear to close, unlike most companies out there that are still averaging 30 plus days, even in a quote unquote slow environment. But it is truly a seamless process now. It's a well-oiled machine, and now we get to do this fun stuff. Now we get to design the trainings and the plug and play for the operations side of things, because we already have that for the sales side. Trey's a proof of that. Joe Binn's proof of that. Will Dancy's proof of that. Guys without experience in mortgage, 2 of them, and in mortgage / loan officer, another one of them, have come in, and within their first 30 to 45 days, they're getting deals in the door. They're going to be funding deals, and Joe Bin and Will did fund multiple deals. And Trey he has a contract that's going through right now. So plus 7 applications in 30 days. The other person I wanted to highlight as well is my brother, Joe Campo. We recruited Joe for a long time because, he was running a team over there at Home Point of almost 120 people, and that's a value add. Well, Joe came in. He did well, and he did, every salesperson up and down, up and down. Well, he's on a trajectory straight up. And it's a testament to him buying into the system as well, and him going after the bigger, badder clientele, him going after the biggest, baddest real estate agents in the market, him going after the brokers in charge of those realtor shops, him going after them, setting meetings with Mike's help. Mike, since he came in, VP of Business Development, Mike is an unbelievable salesperson. Mike has built teams in other industries, and he's driven business in other industries. We brought Mike in, right? And our number one goal of bringing Mike in was to do what? To drive business. Well, we've seen an increase in applications month over month since he's been here. We've seen an increase of funding volume. We're projected right now, if everything holds, and that's a big if, we all know that, it's mortgage. If everything holds, we're projected to fund over $10 million in the month of February. Clapping for you.
Thank you, bro.
So what I'm getting at is, first and foremost, it took their hard work, their dedication, their belief in what I was saying and what I was pushing out as the founder of this company, and what my belief and my vision for this company is. And it took their belief, their buy-in to that, and their hard work. The second proponent of it is, here's the steps that work, and if you are coachable and you follow these steps, the environment, the market, all the bullshit you hear does not matter. If you buy into what is being said, I will show you a proven way to get to become a top producer. Now, you don't become a top producer in 12 days, 30 days, 45 days. It takes years, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But if you stay here with the resources we provide you as a loan officer or a commercial lender or a mortgage advisor or somebody who wants to come from the Mercedes dealership, come from John Deere, come from Caterpillar Equipment. I don't care where you're coming from. If you want to come here and you want to make more money than you've ever made in your career, we will show you how to do it. We have the best and the brightest minds that work at this company. We have the best technology that work at this company. It's a testament to what we built over the first 2 years, you and I, Ben. It's a testament to the foundation being put in place. It's a testament to the hard work of the people who come here. And it's a testament to them buying into what it is. And then the proof is in the pudding. Mike, I want to ask you something. And I know the camera isn't on you. We don't have a camera over there yet, but we're going to get one. I just didn't want to hurt the people's eyes today. What is your thoughts on your first couple months here at NBI? You came from a chemical industry background. You came in here. You've taken the bull by the horns. Not only did you take the bull by the horns, you took that fucking bull and threw it over the fence.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a blast so far. It's an absolute different market, different animal altogether that we're working in. Our team is unbelievable. Enjoy working with the executive team. It's just been a wonderful experience. And we have a long way to go. We want to be the number one mortgage lender in the country, all 50 states. And we also want to provide service for, the people that are trying to buy houses. At the end of the day, that's what we want to do. We want to put people in homes. And, what else could be better than that? I mean, it's just, it's an unbelievable feeling when the deals go through. And at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do.
Absolutely. What's your thoughts on our process and what it is that we believe in? If you could switch to the wide camera, I feel weird with it just staring at me.
Yeah, gotcha. I'm still a rookie over here.
No, it's all good. I won't get mad at you. I just get mad at Ben because he's been doing this for 2 years now. So on our process and how we build a sales team and how we build the person with the loan officer, the mortgage originator. I call ourselves mortgage advisors because it's that white glove service. What's your thought process is, on what our process is on a day-to-day for them? Let's use the guy at the BMW dealership, Josh, right? And we won't say his last name, but Josh, say we wanted him over here. He's a top producer at the BMW dealership. Josh wants to come over here or is on the fence about coming over here. What would you say to him about whether or not he's going to be able to produce here?
Well, I've known Josh for a little while, and he's a great salesman, great guy. I think he'd be a huge success here. He has enthusiasm. He's believable. I think that he would hit the ground running in the mortgage industry. I mean, as we know, we have built out processes for our guys, whether you're new or you're tenured, to be able to come in here and be successful. And that's what we're trying to do. We want to make it an easy transition from wherever you come from, whether it is John Deere, wherever it's, whatever type of sales you're in. It doesn't even matter if you're working at the grocery store. It does not matter. The way we have set our processes up day in and day out, you should be able to come in and be successful in, the 3 months. I mean, we have a 30, 60, 90-day program, and we insert you into that. And, it's kind of like watching, a flower bloom. It's awesome, and it's awesome to be a part of.
I think people would be surprised, too, at how many contacts that they have that they've either done business with in previous roles or family or friends or part of, and we're not going to get into all the nitty-gritty details of the 30, 60, 90 because that's our secret soup. Or what is it, secret sauce? Secret sauce. That's our secret sauce. But the amount of contacts that people have, and you just do a couple of things to let people know what you're doing, not even actively going out and saying, hey, do business with me, do business with me. No, you're not even doing that. But actively letting them know, the business that can come in because of that is exponential. It's something that you put in place as soon as you got here, and it contributes to the success. I believe, and Mike, I'm going to ask your opinion, and Ben, I want yours as well. You're sitting over there quiet. I want to know, Mike, do you believe that somebody without any mortgage knowledge can come into a mortgage sales role and do well within the first 30, 60, 90, 180 days and be able to make a living, do well, and provide for their family?
Absolutely. I mean, in the sales space, it's really not what you know, it's who you know. You take Josh, for example. I mean, the guy knows everyone in Charlotte, Matthews, Monroe, Indian Trail. I mean, it's also what you put in it too, but I definitely think that coming over to the mortgage industry, if you have, enthusiasm and you want to be a hard worker, you can make it work.
Right. I agree.
I 1,000% agree as well.
You agree, Ben?
Yeah.
And we're using Josh as an example because Josh is somebody I'm actively recruiting. And he has no, and one of the things I also want to say, let's talk about the financial side of it, right? And sorry, Ben, to interrupt you. Like, let's go. We'll come back to you on this point right here. Will they make more money than they're currently making in your typical sales role in NBI?
Absolutely. I mean, we have it set up with the best comp program in the country. I mean, our sales guys are going to make a ton of money, but they also have potential to drive nice cars, fine watches, and suits. We want to take care of our guys, better than anybody else. We're a family. We really want to get out of the the corporate niche, and that's why we have the NBI Financial Group.
Ben, what's the numbers they can put up?
I mean, you can put up, a bunch. If you do, what is it? You can do 10 million in volume a month. Like, you get a top producer, someone who knows what they're doing, someone who's going to go out there, hit the streets, and bust their tail and do their job. You can do 10 million in volume. Like that. That's a reasonable goal. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah. How much money are they going to make?
So if you do 10 million in volume, that is, what is that? $120,000
Yes.
a month.
125,000.
125,000 a
That's
month.
not including the profit share.
Right.
That's not including the
Oh,
car program.
the
That's not including the
incentives.
watch, the incentive program, the 401k plus the match at that point. That's not including any of that. We do have the most competitive. You know,
By far. Like, where else can you go with a reasonable goal to hit within 6 months, a year? I mean, look, it's going to take work. It's going to take hard work. You're going to have to build your network, build your book of business, put the effort in. But once you have that built, like that is the goal. Like, I know Nick's mentioned this before. Like, he's been on calls with other top producers. There's things out there that we can get you in touch with. Of, hey, like, learn from the best. Like, we're doing a lot of things better, but we can also get you in touch with other people who do things well too to learn. Like, that's what like we constantly do. But what that does is he was on a call, and how many people were doing over $1 million a year?
So PayStub W-2 employees, over 34 out of 100 people that were on the call were making more than $1 million a year. PayStub W-2. PayStub W-2, that's unheard of.
What other industry can that happen?
I don't know.
What other opportunity do you have where, I mean, Will said this yesterday, and I think it was an absolute great point in the interview with him. He said, in this business, you are your own CEO. You run your own business. But what that means is you also have the opportunity to build that business, to build your business, like to build up your book and earn that.
Well, the thing here too, and this is big for me, and I think it's big for our team, is the thing about being here at MBI is you can make $125,000 a month by doing $10 million a month in production, right? But that doesn't take into consideration how much you're actually going to make, because there's the profit share portion of it. $125,000 a month is PayStub W-2, $1 million a year. That's what we're looking to have. I want a team of 20 guys doing that. I was on a call with 30 out of 100. I want 20 out of 30 of our guys making PayStub W-2, $1 million a year. Plus, then you put their profit share portion into it. It's going to be 1.5, 2 million. Mike, I was talking to, somebody who was working in another sales role at a car dealership, a high-end car dealership. I don't know cars. Well, I don't know cars. Can they make $1 million PayStub W-2 as a car salesman at a high-end dealership?
Not that I've ever heard of. I mean, most of the time the sales plans and situations like that are going to have a ceiling.
Yeah, we don't have a ceiling. We don't have a cap. That's just on I'm talking residential numbers. We haven't even gotten into the commercial numbers. Like Will, who was on the podcast yesterday, he's fixing to make a $40,000 commission check off one deal on the commercial side. One deal on the commercial side. What other shop is doing both commercial and residential? So build your book of residential business. There's your guaranteed income. Then start going and getting some of that commercial business. Now you're throwing $40,000 commission checks on top of your however much you're making per month. And again, on the commercial side of things, if you're somebody who does commercial lending and you're a loan officer or a loan advisor or a financial expert who is good at the commercial side, or you work at a credit union, a bank, or whatever, from a commercial standpoint, first off, I know you guys aren't lending right now. Second off, we are. Third off is guarantee the comp structure there isn't what it is here. We're going to pay you a lot more. Come bring your business to us. We'll find you just as good of rates. We'll find you just as good outlets. We're meeting with multiple hedge funds. And shout out to Mike again on that. Direct line to the money, best rates in the industry. And guess what? We're not taking 90 days to 3 to 6 months to close it. We're closing it in 30 days. So you're going to close a deal in 30 days because we have a process set up here that's second to none. It's just very proud of the company as a whole. Very proud of the people who are stepping up, Ben. I don't say this a lot. Proud that you got a couple $1 million deals down in that land development thing going on down there in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Yeah.
South Kakalaki. Shout out to all my folks in
Big
Dirty
Ben.
Myrtle. Dirty Myrtle, one of the best IPAs out there too, and perfect name for Myrtle Beach. No offense, Myrtle Beach people. Love it. Love golfing down there.
Only one better is the Gas House to my friends in Gastonia.
Oh yeah, but Ben rocking out a couple $1 million deals next month. Dude, the future's bright. What did the kids say? To the moon?
Yeah.
To the moon.
It's
I'm
like
too old for that.
I don't know, and they have the picture of the rocket with it.
That's to the moon. That's why
Yeah.
you have a rocket. You're going to the moon. Guys, you guys drive me nuts. Ben's like a 70-year-old man. Mike's like a 50-year-old man. And neither of them are that age. They're much younger than that. But long story short, what I'm getting at is the future is bright here. There's a lot of competitors in the market. There's a lot of people who say things about MBI. They say things about me. They meet with realtors in the same market as us. There's a reason you don't have their business. I see you liking their Instagram pictures and their LinkedIn. There's a reason that you don't have their business. You're not us, and you never will be. You'll never be me. You'll never have a Mike. You'll never have Ben. And I wish all the success in the world to you. But there's a lot of people who are trying to copy our model, man, and not be themselves. And you can't copy our model and win.
No,
we are
you
going
can't.
to win.
You can't.
Period.
To be successful in anything, I think you have to come into your own. You have to be yourself. You have to have fun with it. Yeah, and it's that confidence. And that really, Mike keeps saying it as well. You have to be exuberant. You have to be believable. And to do that, you have to be excited about what you're doing. And you have to believe in it.
One key part, though, guys, is the operation team that backs us.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
1,000%.
Absolutely. And that's what I was saying in the very beginning was that's a well-oiled machine out there, and it's only getting better. Shout out to Ron, Cartier, Candace, and all our new team members. So
Yeah.
we just we got a well-oiled machine. And Ben, what should the people do?
They should hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you are notified of all future videos. And make sure you follow us on social media. This is Mortgage Man Nick, and I am Ben Singleton.
What's the next subject? What do you got for us?
So I am so excited that we're doing the podcast today because I was flipping through social media last night and everything I kept saying, oh, housing crisis of 2024 coming. Oh, Fed's pushing off. They're not going to lower interest rates. It is absolutely wild. What do they call it? Into the trolls that are out there that are trying to spin things and make everyone seem, doom and gloom out there in the market. Just because the Fed announced, hey, that we're not going to. And the only reason, if you actually look into it, if you really know what's going on, the only reason that Fed even announced that is because Goldman Sachs came out with an article saying, that they're expecting 5 rate cuts throughout this year starting in March, which I think is exactly what they had planned. I guarantee you, I think exactly what the Fed had planned is to do that. The Fed found out, or Goldman Sachs found out about it, made an article. If you looked at the stock market, it was starting to jump because when they lower rates, money's going to become cheaper, right? So that's going to help out the stock market. So everyone was reacting to that, which is exactly what the Fed does not want to do. Right now, they're a bunch of politicians, right? They're not actually financial guys. They're a bunch of politicians.
They're lawyers.
Right. Politicians and lawyers. And what they want is to be able to influence things with their words, not with actually what their actions. So to counter that, what they came out is, we're not gonna lower it in March right now. Inflation's still too high. It's at 3.4%. We're not gonna do anything until it's below 2. Well, guys, that is not true. Inflation, especially when you consider shelter inflation, which is housing market inflation, which is lags a year or even more because of rent. It's really not. You take that out of the equation, we're at 1.8% right now in inflation. That is well within it.
So,
we're at a point now to lower interest rates, but the Fed is not, because they're trying to, like I said, monitor the expectations, and
they're trying to tamper expectations is what they're trying to do.
Correct.
And by trying to tamper expectations, so there's this thing I constantly say to everybody here, and Mike's probably heard it 17,000 times in 2 months, and Ben, I tell you it 17 times a day, and it's called be proactive, not reactive. I've been screaming since July of last year, hey, Fed, the peak inflation in October, hey, Fed this, hey, Fed that, and I wasn't able to understand how they don't see it, how they can't pull these numbers apart. MBS Highway, Barry Habib, he talks about it all the time. If you actually pull the numbers apart and look at the true numbers and not just what is there, you have to look at projections. Every business has to look at projections. The Fed is running a massive business, essentially, right? It's part of the reason I scream that we're not a free economy, because the Fed is trying to control things and they want a quote-unquote soft landing, and they don't want inflation to spike back up because a bunch of people are spending money. Well, my whole argument this entire time is you have to be proactive. And by doing this, They are trying to tamper the will of the people. They're trying to make sure businesses don't start hiring again. They want to keep unemployment high. They don't want people spending money. They don't want people borrowing money and spending more money because they're afraid inflation's going up. My whole argument is this. Instead of hurting the American working class people, and in the Nick Unleashed section, I talk about this just a little bit, and we're going to get more and more into this to this type of thing on this podcast as we move forward, especially on the Tuesday or on the Friday episode. Tuesday is going to be guests. Friday is going to be us talking about what's going on in the markets and so on and so forth. But instead of hurting the American working class people, because what happened is they printed a bunch of money. They sent it out, whether it was through COVID or whether it's through billions of dollars sent to Ukraine, billions of dollars sent overseas to people who aren't Americans, to be quite frank. That doesn't mean I agree with war, or disagree with war, or agree with Ukraine, or agree with Russia. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when we print money like that and we send it out and we drive the deficit up, we're putting money back into the economy. And then on top of it, they're making rounding errors where they add an extra zero. It just came out that since day one, Ukraine's been siphoning money off the top. Some top officials in their Defense Department just got arrested. I think 5 top officials stole more than $40 million of U.S. funds, or they didn't say it was U.S. funds, but we're the ones who send all the fucking money. So they just got arrested in Ukraine. And Zelensky and the president, they'll come back and they'll ask us for more money, and hopefully the Fed doesn't print it this time. Now we have the situation in Israel where we're sending money to Israel as well. We're sending money to all these foreign governments. What that is doing is they're then coming back to American companies and doing what? Spending money with American contracting companies for
Correct.
defense and so on and so forth, right? So they're coming back and they're doing that. They're spending money. When money is being spent on that level, guess what happens? It causes inflation to go up because there's more changing hands. So instead of the government and instead of the Fed saying, hey, we can't print more money, we can't get into more of a debt deficit, which we are, what we're going to do instead is we're going to hurt the American working class. We want unemployment. So every time they're printing money, which causes inflation because it's putting more money into the economy, the flip side of that is they're coming for your job at some point. They're just kicking the can down the road right now. Let's cause some inflation, and maybe they aren't doing it on purpose, but let's cause some inflation. And in order to get that inflation under control, let me make sure it costs businesses and organizations more money to operate. Let me scare them a little bit about the economy so that they start downsizing. Let me drive the unemployment rate up so that we can, quote unquote, get inflation under control, but they won't come out and say how they're actually doing it, and how they are actually doing it is laying you off or causing effects in the economy that will cause your companies to have you laid off. So we're not a political show, but you have to bring politics into it because this whole thing, it's a dog and pony show. It's smoke and mirrors. And it's all based on policy. And whether you like this person or whether you like that person, look at the policy. What is their economic policy? What is their foreign policy? What is their policy when it comes to war? Because we have to stay out of that stuff, because if we stay out of that stuff, less money is spent. Here's the other piece. Can they manage a budget? Rand Paul does this thing every Christmas time, and I think we need to bring this up, and they go through the government spending and the over expenditures. And I think there was a funny quote that came out of it last time. They spent $132 per toilet seat in one of the government buildings. $132 per toilet seat. That's disgusting. And then everyone's like, why is inflation happening? Well, because your government is overspending, which is causing prices to go up. They're not holding these contractors who have government contracts accountable. The government itself is bloated. The bigger the government is, the more money that's getting spent, and it's getting spent inefficiently. They're taking the money out of your pay. They're going to tax you more because the more people there are, the more money that's going to be spent, the less efficient they're going to be. Then they're going to be like, oh, well, we got to send this money to Ukraine because humanitarian reasons. Okay, great. Like we want the best for everybody, but not at the peril of the American people. And that's what's happened. I mean, and that's been going on. It's more than just the last 4 years, the last 8 years, last 16 years. Go back to essentially going away from the gold standard, and that's been happening.
And what pisses me off the most about all this is the way that it's done is sneaky, kind of goes around it, is not direct at all or transparent. And you brought up a great example earlier about all the about the Ukraine and everything going to that and all the accounting errors that are going on. That's going
It's
on
not
with
just
the
that,
Ukraine.
though.
But because and to one of those examples, for example, it was weapons that was sent over there, and sorry, we accounted for it wrong. We did on the replacement cost when it actually should have been on what the actual value is. So we're going to send more weapons over there.
Well, the worst part about that
But-
too is it's not just the accounting errors. It's
no.
that they make these bills that are 900 pages long and they stuff something into the middle of the bill that's going to cost you, the American working class, your job, because it's going to cause them to have to print more money, which is then going to cost inflation. And then they're
Right.
going to have to hike interest rates and they're going to have to come down with more regulation and businesses are going to contract. Like we're in a recession. People don't even talk about.
Right, but what I was getting at with that accounting error too is because guess what we have to do as a military? We're going to replace those weapons. We're not just going to lose those weapons. Like we are going to replace those. So what we're actually spending, what the actual is being printed extra, what the government is spending, it's actually way more than the numbers that you're seeing. I mean, it's
Well, they increased the defense budget, so.
right, but the actual number of what's being generated and what's being paid is way higher than that.
Right.
Well, I'd rather spend money on the military than a $132 toilet seat. Just throwing that out there.
Well, absolutely,
Right.
but
But how much military
but how
do we
much
need?
of
We
it
have
is-
enough bombs to blow up the entire world right now.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is we had those, but we're sending everything over to Ukraine and paying more. So what we're actually paying to go to Ukraine is actually way more than what's being announced. So, and we're talking about where's inflation coming on? Well, all of that money goes towards inflation. That's impacting inflation.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, and the whole point of this conversation originally was we were talking about how the Fed is saying, "Hey, we're not going to lower interest rates," because J.P. Morgan Chase came out.
Goldman Sachs.
Goldman
yeah.
Sachs, one of those big boys, came out and said, "Oh, well, they should lower them 5 times, or they're going to lower them 5 times." That's probably what should happen, but is it going to happen? I don't know. I think they're still going to lower them. I think the first one's going to be in March. It's already built into the rates, but rates have gone up just a bit today. And the reason they've gone up a bit is because the market's reacting. It's a reactive market.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean the rates are actually higher, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. The rates aren't actually higher. The rates are just going up because there's bond trading associated with it and, speculation and so on and so forth. But, my whole thing on that is we got Jerome Powell, a lawyer, running the Fed, and it should be an economist, period.
I absolutely agreed. I mean, the market and the rate should not be based off of just comments that people make. And we're talking about spinning things. Like that's the perfect example of spinning things and not being direct with exactly what's going to happen, what we're coming into. And that's a lot of the problem. Like, I mean, how can any person plan and budget? Talking about the everyday American, how can you plan and budget and do that when you have no idea? Experts don't know because it's wishy-washy because it just seems to change with the day.
100%. But you know what people should do
What should they do?
when it comes to these the interest rate issue?
Yeah.
What do you think they should do? You know what I think they should do?
What should they do?
Like, you know what they should do? They should bang that red subscribe button and turn on the notifications, because the only way you're going to be able to keep up with whether rates are going up or down is if you follow the Loan Guys podcast. We're on NBI Financial Group LLC. That's our YouTube page. That's our Instagram. That's our LinkedIn. That's our Facebook page. That's our X account page, which is formerly known as Twitter. Shout out to Elon for loving the letter X. That's our TikTok. We are booming on TikTok, 70,000 plus views. Also, we're going to be doing some giveaways here and stuff in the future. So if you're following and you have the subscribe button on and you're leaving comments, you probably have a better opportunity to win those giveaways. And we'll get into those eventually and what they are. But yeah, Ben, what's our next topic?
Well, it's Nick Unleashed.
Nick Unleashed. So Nick Unleashed. What Nick Unleashed is, it's going to be a weekly segment where I talk about some things that are on my mind that maybe you don't know affects building wealth through real estate, affects the housing market, affects home pricing, affects anything that has to do with mortgage or real estate or building wealth in America. So what's our topic this week? It's illegal immigration. Wait, what, Nick? Why are we talking about this on the Loan Guys podcast? Isn't this supposed to be a podcast that discusses how to build wealth through real estate? Yes, that's exactly what this podcast is. And it would be irresponsible of us not to talk about the negative effect that illegal immigration, or as some like to call them, undocumented people or undocumented workers, the effect that they have on affordability, workers' wages, home prices, availability of homes. I'll even argue that we're talking about this because we're the only responsible mortgage company, because I haven't seen any other mortgage company come out and tell you, the American people, hey, listen, this may not be good. It is almost embarrassing. If these other companies, such as a Movement Mortgage or a Fairway Mortgage or any of these big organizations, even the wholesale lenders that we work with, if they truly care about you, the working class people, they should be trying to educate you. And they have much bigger platforms than we do. Much, much bigger platforms than we do. They should educate you on the effect of the policy that these politicians put in place. And this isn't a left versus right thing, which we will get into. Because on the left, you know who the president in the past 30 years, really history, the president that deported the most people who were here illegally is President Barack Obama. So it's not left versus right thing. And it's actually funny to me because the left right now is coming out and saying, hey, we need to do something as far as allow them in. And there's a big push from the super far left to allow people in illegally. They're calling it asylum. That's not good for you, the working class people. But the left has always stood for the unions and driving of wages up and so on and so forth, right? So the reason I'm talking about this, when it might make you uncomfortable and it might make my business partners uncomfortable and might make people on the floor uncomfortable, I don't know. I don't care. But I do know this. I founded the company MBI Financial LLC because I was sick and tired. I was sick and tired of having to drive business to a certain lender who I worked for at the time, who had the highest interest rates in the market. And they kept telling us in our sales meetings over and over and over and over, hey guys, I know we're priced way out of the market, but you still need to call your partners. You still need to bring in business. You still need to convince them that we're the best or the only option for them, for their clients, because of X, Y, and Z reason. When we all knew what the truth was at the time, my company was going through a merger. And they had a bunch of what they called, quote unquote, fat. I called those workers from two different companies, and some of them had the same jobs, and some of them lost those jobs because this person was there longer, or this person was favored by this leadership, or this person was more productive in this system, or whatever. So we had to, well, they, quote unquote, cut the fat. We had to continue to drive business as a sales team. Fast forward a couple months, my conscience got to me, and I said, I'm sitting here I believe in America. I believe in the American dream. I believe in American home ownership. And I think home ownership is a secondary aspect of the American dream. I think that entrepreneurship is the American dream because it allows anybody to build wealth and be able to buy a home here in America. There's not property rights in a lot of other countries. With that being said, my conscience got the best of me. I said, am I being true to my love for country? And the answer was no. The only way I knew to combat that was to resign from my job and to start MBI Financial Group, LLC, which I then convinced Ben to found the company with me. And here we are. We're trying to help people. So let's look at some of the facts, right? So the facts on illegal immigration are this. The pandemic had a major effect. From 2017 to 2022, the amount of families in the U.S. increased by over 3 million. However, new home starts or new builds, they weren't being built fast enough to keep up with the increased demand. During the pandemic, interest rates then hit an all-time low. You guys remember, many of you out there are in the lowest rates that you'll ever have in your life, that we may ever see in the history of the United States again. So they hit an all-time low, which drove up demand for purchasing more properties. I think this is around the time that companies like BlackRock started buying single-family residences. And you guys can fact-check me on that. Please do. Was BlackRock buying single-family residences up left and right in story and headline after headline after headline during the pandemic years of 2020 through 2022? I think they may have been. But fact check me, please, and tell me in the comment section if I'm right or wrong. But it drove home prices up. Why did it do that? Because guess what? Money was cheap, supply was low, demand was high. It's simple economics, supply and demand. At the same time, because of the pandemic, asylum seekers, which we have legal asylum here in the United States, and you have to apply for it, you have to get vetted, and so on and so forth. We have legal asylum, I should say, in the United States, right? So if you apply through and go through the methods, great. Come to America, work hard, live the American dream like pretty much the founders of the country, right? We were all immigrants at one point. But that asylum seeker it increased. And then you started seeing caravans, which Mike is going to put a picture up after I finish my spiel and we start talking. But you see these caravans of people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people coming across the border, flooding across the border. They're coming from places like Guatemala. A lot of people think, oh, well, they're coming from Mexico. They're not coming through Mexico. They're not coming from Mexico. They're coming through Mexico. So the asylum seeker number went up during the pandemic. People were trying to get here. More and more people were trying to get here. And at that point, the border policy or the border law was being followed, and there was the remain in Mexico, and there was less people coming across the border. And then the new administration got in, right? And the new administration, more and more people started coming across. However, because of the cheap money, the amount of people crossing the border, the amount of people who already had increased from an immigration status in this country, and the more families that there were, and the new home starts going down, supply and demand, simple supply and demand caused prices to skyrocket. If you owned a home, you created a lot of wealth for yourself from 2020 to 2022. There are people whose home prices went up by more than 150%. More than 150%. Here's the issue we're having, though, right? So prices have gone up. I believe they're going to continue to increase. Illegal immigration, the other piece with the illegal immigration, there's a bunch of studies on this, and we're going to post the studies in the subject matter to this video and to this podcast. It drives wages down. So if you look at the paper that is going to be, it was actually published by the Center for Research and Analysis on Migration. Here's a direct quote. The individuals who lose more from immigration are less educated native workers who rent their homes. What does that mean? Blue-collar workers in America are more affected by illegal immigration. So I go back to what I mentioned, and the left was always pro-union, pro-increase of wages. Why is the left now arguing for, like AOC arguing for illegal immigration, saying we just need to document these workers? Well, guess what? There's also studies out there, Ben, and you look this up, that show that illegal immigrants, even once documented, are willing to take less pay, which then does what? It drives prices down. So home prices are going up because of illegal immigration and more families being here and being a higher demand. And working class Americans' wages are going down because of illegal immigration. So we're coming into this place where it's I call it the no return zone, where it's going to get bad for people trying to buy homes. So here's the other piece. And I keep going back. I mentioned AOC, right? Well, they want to argue that rich corporations are bad. If you're rich, you're bad. You're this, that, and the other thing. Yet defending illegal immigration helps who? It helps the rich corporations and business owners because they aren't losing. They get workers at a lower wages. So they can suppress the growth of wages here in America, which has been happening. And there's economic studies that I can post here in the subject of this video. It doesn't make any sense why any type of American politician who's supposed to be here defending the American people and represent the American people, why they would be okay to these open borders. It's economics 101, supply versus demand. It's a relatively simple concept. When demand increases at a faster rate than supply, the cost of the product increases. So let's take a look at Texas. There's a flood of people leaving states with high taxes, high crime, caused by bad policies, plus the illegals crossing the border at record numbers, and is projected to be somewhere close to 13 million by the end of President Biden's term in office. This has caused high home prices in Texas to rise dramatically. Extremely high, right? So something like 13 million people in a 4-year span are going to cross the border. The scariest part about it, it's not like take out the cost of it, it's suppressing wages, take out the cost of it, increasing home prices. Let's just look at some of the people who crossed. Last month alone, 18 people on the FBI terrorist watch list were apprehended at the border. Those are just the ones that are caught. So here as an American, I need to think about my son, my daughter. I think about Mike's kids, Ben's future kids, everybody out here I care about. As a business owner, everybody in America I care about. I care about America. My family came over here from Italy. They were able to immigrate here and make great lives for themselves. I care about what this country stands for. I'm a natural-born American. And a lot of us natural-born Americans, we shut our mouths and we shut up and we became the silent majority. Well, guess what, people? It's time to stand up because we have to start protecting the ideals of this country, because if not, there's not going to be a country and there's not going to be homes that are available for our kids. So let's just look at it purely from an economic standpoint. how is your son, your daughter, Mike's son, Mike's daughters, your future kid, how are they going to be able to afford their first home? It's a serious question I have, because if we don't have the supply, but the demand is high and the borders are open, and every 4 years we have 13 million people crossing the border, even if we deport a percentage of them, how are our kids going to be able to afford homes? It gets even better, right? So other countries in the Western world started studying this, right? So illegal immigration, it's not just an American problem. Immigration in general also has been shown, just legal immigration, it's also been shown to raise the cost of homes, and not just in the metropolitan city areas where most of the immigrants are going to for job opportunities and things of that nature. But guess what? In the suburbs and surrounding area, because the people who are in the cities who can no longer afford to be there, example, San Francisco, get pushed to the suburbs where homes are a little bit cheaper, but it's causing those homes to go up even higher in prices. So those homes are now even higher in prices, and the city is higher in prices. And guess what? The issue isn't resolved, and nobody can afford a home. And then now you got homelessness running rampant in San Francisco. The founder of Cash App, because of homelessness, there's a lot of drug problems and mental issues in those communities. Founder of Cash App, walking outside of a San Francisco apartment, gets stabbed. So guess what comes with homelessness and high prices? Increased crime. And it's not safe. Feces in the streets, all kinds of crazy stuff. So at what point do we say, okay, well, I'm not saying illegal immigrants are bad people, but at what point do we say we have to have American borders to protect the American people? We stopped embracing the excellence. So let's just take a look at, there was a study in Switzerland done about immigration, and it was done right around the time that the EU did the open borders. I forget exactly what it was called. There was a study in Switzerland that showed that, it was the free movement agreement with the EU did to owner-occupied houses. And guess what? Advanced countries, meaning countries who are better off economically for their citizens, saw an upward trend. I'll post that paper in the subject as well. So this has been a well thought out, well-researched topic by myself and with the help of Ben. New American Economy, and I'll put this link as well in there, showed that illegal immigrants push the cause of home prices up. Well, the funny part about New American Economy, they spin it as they were adding housing wealth. That is true for Americans that own homes already, but what about our children? What about the people who didn't own homes? What about first-time home buyers? If we keep letting people in the country at the rate we are, how are they going to afford houses? Here's what I get to on this and this whole subject, right? I think this whole subject revolves around a mindset. In America, forever, from the days of the industrialists all the way up through really recently, we took pride in being the greatest country on the face of this earth. We took pride in American excellence. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was media, social media, if it was the 2%, the loud 2%, the greasy part, the squeaky wheel that gets the grease type of saying is what I always like to use. Those who are the loudest will get the most attention type of thing, even if they aren't the majority. They convinced a lot of Americans that if you're successful and if you have money, and because we're American, we should feel guilty because people around the world don't have that. They've convinced Americans that we're the police of the world. They've convinced Americans that we owe it to other people to allow them here because we had this opportunity. But guess what, folks? We don't. Should we help people? Yeah, as long as it's within our means. But instead of sending $100 billion to Ukraine, maybe we should look at the inner city of Chicago, where there's more murders in one of the strictest gun control environments than anywhere really across the country, and other cities like that too. And I'm not talking about just Democrat cities. I'm talking about the Republican cities. I'm talking about Arkansas. I'm talking about the bad areas of Alabama and how expensive it is to live there, and how crime is rampant, and it's a socioeconomic problem, and we're sending money overseas, and then we're allowing people into the country who aren't documented, who are illegal, who aren't coming here by the same means as your grandparents did or my grandparents did, and we're setting our kids up for failure because they're not going to be able to afford real estate. They're not going to be able to buy houses. And what does that mean? It's going to have a direct effect on their net worth, because at 60 years old, if you own a home, you have 67% more net worth than those who don't own a home, and we're setting our kids up for failure. The National Association of Realtors Home Affordability Index is at the lowest level it has been since the late 1980s. The late 1980s, the interest rates were like 16%. House Price and Rent Affordability Index compiled by by the federal Department of Housing and Urban Development show that household incomes have not kept pace with the rising cost of homeownership. I wonder why. We just let 13 million people into the country over a 4-year period. Houses haven't increased by 14 million. They're willing to take less money than American blue-collar workers. I wonder why. Undocumented immigrants cannot legally work in the United States, yet they comprise nearly 5% of the overall U.S. employment and a larger share of the workers in particular industries and occupations. Ben, do you think that is the undocumented worker getting laid off first, or is the American worker getting laid off first who's documented when we hike interest rates and want to cause unemployment?
The one who costs the most, which is the documented citizen.
Right. So the one who causes the most, the documented citizen, is going to get the hourly wage for undocumented workers is much lower than the U.S.-born workers and legal immigrants. But much of the difference can be explained by the differences in education and other factors. However, when you compare undocumented workers to documented workers with similar education and skills, undocumented workers continue to earn lower wages, even though the gap is slightly smaller. So my whole rant is this. I talked a little bit about politics there because policy does affect livability. But what I'm getting at is supply and demand. We can't keep allowing open borders. I'm glad to see Texas taking a stand. I wish that our federal government would take a stand because it's their responsibility to protect the borders. That doesn't mean I don't want people. I want legal people coming into the United States. The more legal people we have, the more they contribute to the system through taxes, maybe the lower our taxes can get. But first, we'd have to get our Congress and the Fed on the budget. I don't know if they know what budget means because they're lawyers and they're not economists. The other piece to this is there's a place in Texas just outside of Houston, and I texted Ben last Sunday over this, called Colony Ridge, Texas. So the feds actually sued Colony Ridge developer, accusing him of preying on Latino home buyers. So what Colony Ridge is Liberty County's largest developer. He offers in-house loans at 13% interest rate to predominantly Latino populations searching for the American dream of homeownership. So that they need to check their premise. The American dream is not homeownership. The American dream is being able to come here, work hard, create a great life for a life for yourself, I should say, and then be able to buy a home. The homeownership is a byproduct of the American dream. So I'm going to get into it, but a couple of the facts here. Residents have returned to nearly half of the 45% of the 35,000 plus properties in Colony Ridge. Some of the properties at Colony Ridge sold over the last decade have had as many as 9 different owners. So if you've ever seen payday loans, if you've ever seen those used car lots, if you've ever seen places like that where you can go in, no credit check, here's a home, or here's a car, take it, but the interest rate's 60%. Or a payday loan where it's unbelievable. For $100, you're paying back like $160 a week in just interest, not including the $100 until you can pay that original $100 off. That's what Colony Ridge is. I was looking into this a little bit, and I was wondering, and this is somewhat of a shot at Greg Abbott. So the founder of Colony Ridge, it's him and his brother, and his brother. Well, actually, I don't know if it's him and his brother. His brother's involved because his brother sent almost $2 million in campaign funds to Governor Abbott down there. Governor Abbott right now is trying to stop the border crisis, so he's doing a good job there. But when I watched this documentary on it, and when Governor Abbott was questioned of, hey, how can you allow Colony Ridge to exist? First off, it's predatory lending. But what this little snippet fails to mention is a majority of the people who are like 98% of the people who are taking these homes, and there's 150,000 people in a 35-plus property community, are illegal immigrants. The reason they can get away with these high interest rates and snatching the homes back from them and selling some of the homes up to 9 times is because they're illegal immigrants. Who are they going to tell?
Right.
They're getting taken advantage of.
Absolutely.
Guess what the crime rate is in this community?
What?
Exorbitantly high. So high, it's unbelievable. Like, just go Google crime rate in Colony Ridge. It's unbelievable. Because guess what? A lot of them are living pretty poor. and the homes aren't nice homes. They're manufactured single wides they look shitty. And it's an absolute mess. But this is another problem, and we're going to dive more into Colony Ridge on another episode where we can get into all the stats and go through it and so on and so forth, maybe next week or the week after. But it all goes back to illegal immigration, what I was talking about.
Right. I mean, it's predatory lending, like you said. Like
Predatory.
I mean, it really is. It's because you look at it from two different standpoints, right? You have your financial standpoint, and then you have like the human rights. Oh, what's best? You want to find some sort of a bridge because you want to do the right thing, but you cannot do it at the expense of your own people, of your neighbors.
Mike, pull up that pic. Ben, keep going. But Mike, pull up that picture of the caravan. And Ben, keep talking. Keep your thought going. You don't want to do it at the expense of your neighbors?
No, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to do it at the expense of your neighbors, but at the same time, too, like, how much of a disservice is it putting these legal immigrants in a situation like that? Because I'm sure there are some that come over here that want to have a better life, that want to be able to, this is going to change things, but then they come over here and they get taken advantage of, put into a 13% interest rate to live in a rundown property that they're not going to have any sort of protection on. They're just going to continuously get taken advantage of. I mean, it's because that they're illegal immigrants. Like, they just don't have the protection that they need and deserve.
Well, and part of it too is it's on the rhetoric of the country too. You
yeah.
can't be inviting people to come here that aren't doing it the right way.
And then what are you going to do with them? I mean, just Google illegal immigration and Google image search that. What you're going to see is people involved in sleeping communities. They're coming here for a better life. It's wild. It's $150 trillion a year right now spent on and we're over here talking
That's
about
trillion?
Oh, that's trillion. That's
Mike, can you
100.
make that a little bit bigger for me?
Don't know how.
It's fine. I'll look at it after. Yeah.
If you, yep. Yeah, it's $150 trillion a year being spent on that. And talk about, like, where's that money going to come from? Because we were just talking about how inflation's affecting the everyday person, and how the solution right now and what the Fed's doing is running people out of work to try to stop it. So, but yet we're spending $150 trillion on illegal immigrants a year.
And the illegal immigrants are going to take your job at less of a wage than you, and you're going to be unemployed.
Exactly. Exactly. And so you're looking at all the citizens who aren't going to be employed now, who aren't going to, it's going to suffer everyday person. It's not just about tax dollars.
How does
Right.
that help them with homeownership?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. And then you think of, well, how exactly are we going to pay this? And then you think, oh, well, student loans now repayments are coming in. Oh, so we'll just use some of that. Maybe they budgeted that in. Oh, wait, now we're forgiving student loans. Like, all of this stuff has a cost, even if it's not a direct cost like that. That's income that come in and could maybe pay for more immigrants, more asylum seekers, and help them out. Instead, we're forgiving that. We're just taking all the shortcuts that we can with no solution in sight.
Well, it's also causing a hospital in Colorado to fail.
Yeah.
It's a hospital that they're coming in, they're getting treated, and they should be able to get treated if they have sicknesses and so on and so forth. That's the humanitarian thing to do. The issue is they shouldn't be here in the first place. And by not making sure that Yeah.
And that's the way that things should be done. So it's not sitting here saying, oh, no, we don't want to help anyone. We just want to stick here and keep the money to ourselves and be greedy. No, it's that we don't want the money has to come from somewhere. And just letting anyone and everyone in with no budget, no numbers of we can let this many people in and still afford it, not adversely impact the economy. There's none of that. It's just, should we let people in or not? There's no details and
They're making decisions based off of emotion.
right. Well, right.
It's based off of emotion and
Well-
not fact. You need to make fact-based decisions. When we're running a business, we're making fact-based decisions. What's our budget? Can we afford to hire somebody? Do we need to hold off a little bit? Do we need to figure out a workaround until we can get the income up? Whatever it is, like you're making fact-based decisions. Our
You wanna know
government.
the real issue?
No, what?
Kind of
Yes.
going off of what you're
What?
saying, is that it's politicians selling emotions to people versus actually doing what's best for the company because they want to get reelected. They just want to do what's easiest to get reelected
Right.
versus actually laying out the facts and actually educating people and saying, hey, here's what we're up against. How should we handle this? And actually people voting on the policies, like you said. Instead, it's, oh, emotions. Look at this. Because look at, and that's why we got
Donald
into-
Trump is bad. Joe Biden's old. He's going to die. Donald Trump yelled
Right.
this. He said this. He did that. Instead of looking at policy, they're looking at there's no trying to win anymore. It's just trying to. I heard the perfect analogy. It was on the Patrick Bet David podcast the other day. It's like you have two people who only care about blocking shots instead of scoring.
Right.
Right. So I'm going to
Right.
block your shot as much as I can, but I'm not actually going to try to win or try to score.
It's
It
a
is what
great way to
what
put
it
it.
is, and it's not just one side of the aisle; it's both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say, from a policy standpoint, I like Trump's a lot better, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's a both sides of the aisle issue. And let's hear. I would love to hear debates where they talk about policy and not like, oh my God, you're a war hawk, you're this, you're that. Like, show me the record, and then show me what policy is, and what's your foreign policy, and what's your immigration policy, and what we don't have one. We do. We have rules, regulations here, but they aren't being followed. So what's the point of having them?
Right. And what's the game? Like, what is the reason that those policies are in place? And explain the reasoning behind it. What's the ultimate plan looking forward?
Well, the other piece too is, hey, how about this, American people? Wake up and start doing your research. Stop being lazy asses.
Right.
Because we have to start doing our research. Like, I don't understand how in California they're leaving and droves of people are leaving. Droves and droves and droves of people are leaving, except they keep voting for the same people. You look at the amount of businesses that California has lost because of their wild taxes, or how long they left restaurants closed, and how many 30% of all California restaurants won't ever reopen after the pandemic because they kept everything shut for so long. And that was all political, man. It was all political. Nobody wanted to look at it and say, okay, here's the people who have the biggest risk from a health standpoint. No, it was Democrats versus Republicans, and it became extremely political. And then businesses were lost. Businesses that provide value to the American communities, provide wealth, and are the American dream that help people purchase homes, period. Like, it's just... We have to start being smarter as as Americans, and start looking into things more. Instead of watching Netflix for 1,000 hours a week, how about pick up a book, pick up just Google what's in the immigration bill, Google what is in the housing bill, Google who is the Fed. Just figure it out. Like, teach yourself, because if you don't, you're going to leave a future to your children that's going to be it's going to be unrecognizable here, and it's not going to be affordable, and the government will fail at some point. I'm not saying it's going to today or tomorrow, but you can't keep on this trajectory that we're going. You just can't. So,
No.
What do we got next?
You definitely cannot. I mean, that was the last topic we had.
Oh, man. You know what we should do?
What?
Bang that red subscribe button and turn on your notifications, and go ahead and follow us on all of our social media. We appreciate everybody who joined us. We appreciate you listening to our rants. Nick Unleashed. Ben's Den will be once a week as well, so he'll have something once a week. But yeah, we appreciate everyone. Go follow us. I'm Mortgage Man Nick on everything. He's Ben Singleton. I thought he was Big Boss Ben, but I guess he hasn't updated it yet. MBI Financial Group across all social media platforms. Again, subscribe, bang the like button. You need to know what we're doing. You need to know what we're hearing. We're gonna give giveaways. You need to know what we're saying. You're getting notifications as we post videos, because it will be topics like this. And tell us your thoughts. Like, we want to know your thoughts. If you disagree with me, good. Let me hear why. Maybe you can convince me why I'm wrong, because I could be. I've been wrong before. I got bodied last night by somebody on LinkedIn. So, and we'll talk about that in one of the episodes that had to do with mortgage and real estate as well. So I've been wrong before, and I'm okay being wrong. So, but we appreciate y'all. We're out. Peace.